Today we're gonna go over generic class in Java. So to get started, I'm gonna show you a program that we did a while back where we went over method override. So here I have a copy of that program. I have my main method here, and basically I have two different arrays. I have two different 2D arrays. So my first array is an array of integer. It's a 2D array of integers. It's 9 by 9 and storing integers numbers. And basically I'm loading the array with the multiplication table. And here I'm just printing the array. Down here I have another 2D array, but this array is a string array. So this is a 2D string array, and I'm just loading the strings inside the array. So each string is just one letter, and it's just the alphabets from A through I, and then I print the array here. So it's very straightforward. When I do print array, I call the same method name. As you can see here, print 2D array for the integer array and for the string array. The only thing is I have two different methods declared down here. So first I have this first method, and that one is to print the integer array. Now when I call the print 2D array for the string array, then this one is being called and it prints the string array. So on this method of having two different methods with the same name is called method override. This is something we learned about a while back, maybe pretty far back, like maybe 2 months ago. All right, so if I run this example, you're gonna see that the first one prints. Let me pull this down a little bit. So you can see that the first one prints the integer array, which is the multiplication table, and the second one calls the second method, the string method, and it prints the string array. Okay, so basically that's how this program works. Now I'm gonna change it a little bit. So I want the output to be somewhat similar to this, but instead of using instead of writing the code for two different methods and do the method override, I'm gonna use what is called a generic class. So to get started, I'm gonna declare a new class, and this is gonna be my generic class. So I'm gonna declare class, and I'll give it a name. So my class name is gonna be array 2D, and I'm gonna put something in here. I'm gonna put the less than sign, the letter T, and the greater than sign. So that's basically my generic type that I'm passing into this class. So basically everywhere that I'm gonna pass in a type to this class, and everywhere in here where you see T is gonna be of the same type. So if I pass in integer, then everywhere you see T is gonna be integer. If I pass in a string, then everywhere where you see T is gonna be a string. All right, so let me put in some comments here. So this is a generic two-dimensional array class. So in here for my variable, I'm gonna put T, which is t is the type here that is being passed in. So if it's an integer, t is going to be integer. If it's a string, again, t is going to be a string. And it's a two-dimensional array. So it could be an integer two-dimensional array, or a string, or whatever type is being passed in. Could be a double, could be character, could be anything. Could even be a class. Alright, and I give my array a name. So in this case, my array's name is ARR. Next, I'm gonna define a constructor. So for the constructor, the name has to be the same as the class. So it's gonna be array 2D, and let me make this D capital D. It stands for two-dimensional array. Array 2D, and my constructor is gonna take a parameter of type T, and it's a two-dimensional array. I'll call this variable coming in A. So this is the type, and this is the variable name. So my constructor is taking an array, a two-dimensional array of type T, and again this T here, this type here, that's the type coming in. It's gonna be the same type as this, it's gonna be the same as this, based on what you pass in. If you pass in an integer, then here T is gonna be integer, it's gonna be integer, it's gonna be integer. So basically you're replacing T with the type being passed in. And let me finish my constructor here. I just have to set my array equals to A, which is the parameter being passed in here. Okay, and that's it for the constructor. I'll put a comment here. Next, I'm gonna have a method. So this is gonna be my printing method, array printing method. So the return type of this method is void. It means it doesn't return anything. And I'll call it out. So that's my method name, is out. Fix that. And this is to print array method. So this method is going to be used for printing the array. So basically here I'm going to copy the code from my printing method down here. Instead of rewriting it, I'm just going to copy it. I got my for loop here and another for loop. And let's see. Okay. So this one goes with this. Okay, so I want to copy the whole for loop here. I'll paste it right into here. Okay. So let's see what's going on here. So I have to change my A to the variable name here. So it's going to be ARR. So we're actually just going through every element of the array, I and j index, and then we're printing it out. And that's it. That's all I have to do. We're all done there. And let's see what else we have to do. I'm gonna go down here and I'm gonna remove these methods because we no longer need them. We're gonna use this method here to print the array. And then now we're gonna have to convert this. So this one is gonna be of type, A is gonna be of type array 2D. So instead of declaring a two-dimensional array here, I'm gonna declare a variable of type array 2D, and it's gonna be an array. I'm passing in the type integer. So basically this type here is being passed in to this t parameter here. So now when I do this, then everything in here is going to be integer. Everywhere where you see t is going to be integer. So basically this one is, let's call it A, same as our array name down here, equals to new array 2D of integer, but I don't have to rewrite integer, so I can just put blank here. And here I'm gonna pass in the array to my constructor. So I'm gonna pass in the new integer array of, and it's gonna be a 9x9 two-dimensional array. Now we can remove this. So basically this is the same as this statement here. We're declaring the integer array 9x9, except now A is of type array 2D instead of integer two-dimensional array. Okay. Next, here we want to load this new array 2D variable. So we want to load this new array A. So I'm just going to go down here. I'll change this to A dot ARR, which is our variable name in here. So A here is our variable name here. That's the array 2D of type array 2D, and ARR is the subfield inside of A. And we're just getting the length of this ARR array. So basically the length is going to be 9 because we're passing in 9 over here. And I'm going to do the same over here. So it's going to be A dot ARR. So basically here I'm getting the array element. Actually I'm getting the length of each row. And here I'm getting the array element. So here we're just loading the 2D array with the multiplication table. And then now we want to print. So to print, I'm gonna have the name of the array, the name of the array 2D integer, which is A dot, the method name, which is out. So that's this method name here, and that's gonna print the array. Remove one semicolon. Let's save this. Now, how come it doesn't like that? Let me see why. A dot out. It should work. Okay, that's the reason is because when I highlighted it and I actually accidentally deleted this. When I highlighted it and I hit the space bar, I deleted it. So let me put the name of this method back in. Okay, so now I put this method name back in out, and now basically this is how you print, you access the method to print the array. All right, so let's see if that works. So I'm just gonna test that first. I'm gonna comment all these out. Once this top part is working, then we'll work on the bottom part. I'm gonna run it, and there you have it. So this is the multiplication table, same as before. So now let's see if we can use the same class, but for a string to the array, not an integer, but a string. So let's see how we can do that. So I'm gonna uncomment these. And first of all, here I have a string to the array loaded with A, B, C, D, F, G, H, I. Now, next, I'm just gonna skip a line, and then I'm gonna print out the array. So to print out the array, I'm gonna do the same thing as, oh, you know something? I'm missing one step, and that is this step right here. So after I have the array, I have to declare a variable. I have to declare a variable s that is of type 2D, array 2D. And in this case, it's going to be a string. So I'm passing in a string. So you notice up here, we're using the same class, but we're passing in the integer for the generic type. In the second case here, we're using the same one, but we're passing in a string for the generic type. So everywhere you see T in here, in the second case, it's going to be a string. Everywhere there's a T, it's going to be replaced with string. So array2d string s is equal to new array2d. This is same as saying string here, but you don't need to retype it twice. And instead of new integer 99 here, I have my string array here. I'm just gonna pass in that string array. So I'm gonna pass in the name of the two-dimensional string array, and in this case the name is b. Okay, so now I can go and print it out. So I can say s dot the method name, which is out, and that's it. Now if I run this, save it, run it, and you see there is a problem. Anyone can tell me why? The reason is so everything works great. The generic class, the method, everything works. The only problem here is our format, our print format can is specified that it's gonna be that ARR is gonna be a number, right? A decimal number. And when I call that same method with the string array, when in my second case, so in the first case it's fine because my array was an integer array. This is the first case, but on the second case, my array was a string array, and when it gets to here, when ARRIJ contains a string, there is a type mismatch here, so that's not gonna work. So to get around that, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna convert this to a string. So in all cases, when I call with an integer, this part is gonna be an integer, but then I put plus, code, it converts that to a string. So now I can print using the format for a string. In the second case, where I call it with a string, this is still gonna work because this is already a string and I'm adding nothing to it, so it's still a string. So the format for a string to print it's gonna work. All right, so let's just verify that. And there you have it. So up here you have the integer array, but each of these elements were converted to a string by adding this. You're converting that to a string. And here, these elements are already a string, so they're printing fine. So that basically that's the lesson for today. Today's lesson was generic class, and this is how you define the generic class with the type, with the open, the greater than sign, followed by a variable, and this is the less than sign, followed by a variable, followed by the greater than sign. And then everywhere in your class where you have this variable, it's going to be replaced with the type that is being passed in. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you next time.